There are three animals following this honey badger, and not one of them is his friend. A pale, chanting goshawk is sitting in the thorn tree above him, watching the sand come out of the hole. A black-backed jackal is standing 40 feet back, doing nothing, waiting. A small brown bird has been calling at him from the acacia for 11 minutes. He has not looked at any of them. In the next 4 hours, these three animals will take about a third of everything he catches. He will let them, every time, because he has no way of stopping it and no idea it is happening. There is a fourth animal too, and that one has been trying to talk to him since 10:30. Have you ever seen an animal get robbed by 3 different species in one afternoon and finish the day ahead? Stay with this one. The robbery is real. The numbers are worse than they look. And by 6 o'clock, it turns out that 2 of the thieves are the reason he is still alive. This is what it looks like. He puts his head down at the base of a termite mound, and the sand starts coming out behind him. 8 seconds in, a striped mouse comes out of a hole he is not digging, 9 feet to his left. The goshawk is off the branch before the mouse has cleared the grass. It takes it on the ground, kills it with one squeeze, and carries it 11 feet up into the thorn. The badger has not lifted his head. He does not know a mouse was there. He does not know a bird just ate it. The whole transaction takes under 3 seconds and happens 9 feet from his hind legs. That happens 40 times a day. 40 times a day, something comes out of the ground because of him and lands in the mouth of an animal he has never looked at. He has been doing that every working day of his life. He has never once turned around to see where any of it went. His name here is Juma. He is a male honey badger, about 26 pounds, in his 5th year. The coat is the standard thing. Black underneath, a broad gray-white saddle from the crown of the head to the base of the tail, visible from half a mile in flat light. That saddle is not camouflage. It is the opposite of camouflage. It is a sign. And the sign says, "Leave this alone." Almost everything out here can read it. A lion will walk around a honey badger rather than deal with one, not because it would lose, but because winning costs more than the animal is worth. That white saddle is the cheapest thing he owns, and it does more work than his teeth. Everything about him is built for a fight he does not intend to lose. The skin on his neck is loose enough that he can turn inside it while something is holding him. It is nearly 1/4 of an inch thick across the shoulders. His claws are 1.5 inches on the front feet, and they are for digging, not for fighting, though they do both. He survives bites that finish other animals in 20 minutes. He has no reverse gear at all, and that single missing feature is most of his reputation. The reputation is deserved, and it is also slightly beside the point. Nothing out here is trying to fight him. The problem he actually has is not danger, it is calories. An animal this size, working this hard, in ground this dry, is never more than 2 bad days from being in real trouble. Everything in the rest of this film comes out of that number, and not out of his teeth. What he actually does all day is much less dramatic than the reputation. He walks about 12 miles, zigzagging, nose 4 inches off the ground. He digs between 30 and 50 holes. Most of them have nothing in them. Roughly 1 hole in 4 gives him anything at all, and most of what it gives him weighs less than an egg. What he eats is mice, gerbils, lizards, scorpions, beetle larvae, the occasional snake, and honey when he can get it. He needs roughly 2 pounds of that a day, and there is no day where he gets to skip it. That is about 40 mice, if it has to be mice. On a bad day, he does not get half of it, and there is no storage. Nothing about him is designed to hold a surplus. Here is the thing about his method that makes the rest of this story possible. A honey badger does not hunt across a landscape. He opens it. Every hole he digs is a small explosion in a place where things were hiding. And for every animal he catches, 4 or 5 come out of exits he does not know about, into open ground, in daylight, running. He cannot follow them. He is not fast, and he is not looking up. So, 40 times a day, this animal produces a burst of panicking prey in the open and then ignores it completely. That is the most valuable thing happening on this landscape, and it belongs to nobody. Think about what it would take to build that yourself. You would need to know where the tunnels are. You would need to open packed ground in under 3 minutes, and you would need to not care about scorpions, snakes, or bees. There are maybe 4 animals in this district that can do any of it, and only one of them will do it 40 times a day for free. The first one to work that out is sitting 11 feet above his head. A pale, chanting goshawk is a long-legged gray hawk with red legs and a red face, and it is the most patient bird out here. It hunts by sitting still on a perch and dropping on things. On its own, it makes a kill roughly once every 2 hours because, on its own, it has to wait for a mouse to make a mistake. Mice are not in a hurry to make mistakes. They come out at dusk, along cover, in short runs. A hawk hunting them honestly spends most of its life sitting on a branch being hungry. Above a digging honey badger, it does not have to wait for anything. Mice are being thrown out of the ground for it, several at a time, into open sand. The difference is not small. Hawks following badgers catch several times more than hawks hunting alone, and they spend a fraction of the energy doing it. One bird has been recorded staying with the same badger for 6 hours. They do not perch above him out of curiosity. They perch above him because he is a machine that makes mice appear. And the bird is not following a species. It is following this individual. Goshawks have been recorded returning to the same badger day after day and finding him again in the morning near the burrow where he slept. It knows this animal the way a fisherman knows a particular stretch of river. Watch how it positions itself, and you will see that this is not accidental. It never sits directly over the hole. It sits 8 to 12 feet to the side, low, at about the height of a man, facing the open ground. That is the escape line, not the entrance. It is not watching the badger. It is watching where things go when the badger arrives. That is the entire skill, and it took the bird no learning at all to acquire. Any hawk that sat over the hole instead of the escape line simply caught less and got replaced by one that did it correctly. When he moves, it moves. He walks 60 feet to the next mound, and the bird is on a new perch before he starts digging. It does this 30 or 40 times in a day without once being noticed. And he genuinely does not notice. A honey badger has poor eyesight and spends his working day with his head in a hole. There is no version of this where he is tolerating the bird because tolerance requires knowing it is there. The second follower is a different problem. A black-backed jackal weighs about 18 pounds, less than the badger, and it is faster than him in every direction. It does not perch, and it does not wait quietly. It trots in a wide arc around the digging, 30 to 50 feet out, and it takes the things the hawk is too small to take. Rats, young hares, anything that comes out big. It also takes the things the badger has decided are not worth chasing, which is most things that get more than 20 feet away. A jackal following a badger eats better than a jackal hunting a field, and it does almost no work for the difference. And unlike the hawk, the jackal sometimes takes things he has already caught. At 20 past 11, Juma pulls a gerbil out of a collapsed tunnel, and it is a good one, 4 ounces, worth chewing properly. He stands up with it, and the jackal is 14 feet away. It does not charge. It waits. He puts it down for 2 seconds to reposition his grip. The jackal covers 14 feet in about a second and takes it off the sand in front of him. What he does next tells you everything about why this arrangement survives. He goes after it. He goes after it, hard, at full speed, with his teeth out. and he keeps going for about 90 feet. And then he stops, because the jackal is 40 feet ahead and eating. He turns around and goes back to the hole. The jackal does not run far. It stops the moment he stops, which tells you it has done this before and knows exactly where the line is. Total cost of the chase, 11 seconds and a gerbil. He does not sulk, and he does not change anything. Within 20 seconds, he is digging again. That is not forgiveness. That is an animal with no memory for this kind of injury. And it turns out to be the most useful trait he has. A badger that held a grudge would spend his day chasing a faster animal in circles and starve inside a week. He has no capacity for that at all, and it saves him every single day. Run the morning as a ledger. Between 7 and 1 o'clock, Juma opens 26 holes. He catches 9 things himself. The goshawk takes 6 that came out sideways. The jackal takes 4, one of which was already in the badger's mouth. A fourth animal, which we will get to, has been shouting at him the entire time and has taken nothing at all. So he generated 19 kills on this acre and ate 9 of them. He is doing all of the work and getting less than half the food. On every measure that a spreadsheet understands, he is being robbed. The spreadsheet is wrong, and here is where the day turns. Start with what he cannot do. He cannot see well. He hunts with his face underground. When he is in a hole up to the shoulders, he is deaf to everything above ground and blind in every direction. A honey badger in a hole is the least aware animal on this landscape. For 9 minutes at a time, he is a warm body in a hole with his back to the world. He repeats that 30 or 40 times between sunrise and dark. It is the single largest hole in his defenses, and there is nothing he can do about it, because it is the same behavior that feeds him. There are things out here that will kill him. Not many, but the list is not empty. Leopard, lion, if it is bored, a pack of wild dogs, a martial eagle if he is young. All of them are quiet, all of them come from behind, and none of them are going to be heard by an animal with his head in the sand. So what is sitting 11 feet above his head, facing the open ground, watching everything that moves? The goshawk does not warn him. It has no interest in warning him, and no reason to. But when a goshawk leaves a perch fast for a reason that is not a mouse, it makes a noise, and the jackal reads that noise, because every animal out here reads everybody else's alarms, whether they are addressed to it or not. And when the jackal bolts, the ground shakes slightly, and a badger with his head in a hole notices that. It is not a warning system. Nobody built it, and nobody maintains it. It is 3 animals watching different things for their own reasons, and the information leaks. That is how most of what looks like cooperation out here actually works. Not signals, leaks. Twice today, the leak has already worked. At 9:30, both followers left at the same time, and Juma came out of a hole and stood up. There was nothing there. A brown hyena crossing 400 feet out, going somewhere else. He stood on his hind legs for 6 seconds, smelled nothing useful, and went back down the hole. He would not have known. It cost him nothing to know. The second thing they do for him is more useful than the first, and neither of them means to do it. A hawk that keeps dropping onto the same 50-foot stretch tells him something about that stretch. He cannot read it as information because he cannot see the bird, but he can smell where it lands, and he can smell blood, feathers, and disturbed sand. Badgers work back over ground where a hawk has been feeding. The followers are marking the good soil, and they are marking it in a language he happens to speak. And the jackal digs. Badly, shallowly, but it digs, and it digs at the holes he abandoned. About 1 time in 10, it opens something he gave up on too early, eats what it wants, and leaves the tunnel open behind it. He comes back through that ground the next day, and the work is already half done. Neither animal has any concept of yesterday in this. The jackal is not leaving him anything, and he is not accepting anything. A hole that stays open is simply a hole that stays open, and one of them will walk past it. So the three of them are running a business that none of them has agreed to. He supplies panic. They supply eyes. He supplies excavation. They supply a map he reads with his nose a day later. Nobody negotiated any of that. Nobody could have.
Which brings us to the fourth animal, the loudest one, and the only one in this story that is genuinely trying to talk to him. A greater honeyguide is a gray-brown bird about the size of a starling, and it is not much to look at. It has been chattering at Juma since 10:30 from a distance of about 30 feet, moving tree to tree, keeping ahead of him. The call is harsh and repetitive, and it does not sound like a songbird. It sounds like something demanding attention. What it wants is beeswax. The honeyguide eats wax, which almost nothing else can digest, and it can find a wild hive from a long way off. What it cannot do is open one. A hive in a hollow tree or a rock crack is sealed against a bird the size of a starling, so it needs something with claws and no fear of stings. There are exactly two candidates in this district. One of them is a man with an axe and a smoking bundle of grass. The other one is walking northeast right now with his nose in the sand. With humans this works, and it is one of the best documented partnerships between a wild animal and people anywhere on Earth. A honeyguide will lead a person to a hive, wait while the hive is opened and smoked, and take the wax afterwards. It has been doing it for a very long time, and both sides understand the arrangement. With honey badgers, the story is famous, and the evidence is thin. Everybody has heard that honeyguides lead badgers to hives. Almost nobody has filmed it, and researchers who have spent years on it are careful about the claim. It is entirely possible that the bird tries, and the badger mostly ignores it. That is worth saying plainly, because the version everybody knows is cleaner than the version anybody has actually recorded. A bird that leads people to honey is a fact. A bird that leads honey badgers to honey is a story that may well be true and has never been properly filmed. What is certain is that the bird follows him, calls at him for hours, and eats after he has been to a hive. Whether that is guidance or just standing close to the right animal is exactly the question this afternoon answers. Watch this afternoon, and you can see both of those things at once. The bird calls for 35 minutes. Juma does not follow the bird. He follows his own nose, northeast, along a line he was already walking. And at 4 o'clock, at the base of a dead marula, he finds a hive in the cavity where a limb came off. He finds it himself. Nothing led him to it, but the bird has been within 40 feet of him for 5.5 hours, and the bird got what it wanted anyway. He goes in with his eyes closed and his ears flat. African honeybees are not decorative. A few hundred stings will kill most mammals. His skin stops almost all of them, and the ones that land on his face he ignores. He pulls out comb in flat slabs, eats the brood first, the fat white larvae, which are the actual meal, and lets the honey run into the sand. The honey is not the point. It never was. The protein is the point. Everybody calls him a honey badger, and the honey is the part he cares least about. He is at that tree for 19 minutes. 19 minutes of brood comb is worth more to him than the entire morning was. It is the difference between a day that ends level and a day that ends ahead, and it happens perhaps twice a month. When he walks away, the hive is open, the bees are dispersed, and there is wax on the ground and wax hanging in the split trunk. The honey guide is down inside 2 minutes. The jackal comes in for the honey on the sand. The goshawk, which does not eat any of this, stays on its perch and waits for him to start walking again. Call it what you like, Nobody in that tree cooperated with anybody.
A bird shouted for 5 hours at an animal that was not listening, and got paid anyway, because the animal it was shouting at does one thing reliably. It opens whatever is closed. Count the day for Juma. 31 holes, 11 kills eaten, 19 minutes of bee larva, which is worth more than everything else combined. 8 things taken off him or in front of him by other species. 1 chase he lost. 3 stings on the lip that are already swelling. He is full for the first time in 3 days, and none of the 3 animals that robbed him cost him a single thing he could not spare. Counted for the goshawk. 7 kills, 6 of them flushed by an animal it never touched. It will roost tonight, having spent almost no energy hunting, and tomorrow morning it will find him again because he sleeps in a burrow it knows about. Counted for the jackal. 5 meals, 1 theft, 1 abandoned tunnel it will come back to. It lost nothing all day. It was never in danger from him, and it knew it. The only risk it took was 14 feet of open sand for 4 ounces of gerbil, and it had already measured that distance 100 times. Count it for the honeyguide. Wax at 4 o'clock after 5.5 hours of shouting at a deaf animal. It will shout at him again tomorrow, and the day after that, and most days for the rest of its life. It has nothing better to do and no other way to eat. And here is the number that actually matters. Juma is the only one of the 4 who could do this alone. The other 3 are all eating out of a hole he dug on ground he chose at a moment he decided. He is being robbed by everyone, and he is still the richest animal on this acre. And every one of the 3 would be worse off tomorrow if he were not here. He would be very slightly worse off, and he would never know why. That is the shape of the whole arrangement. 3 species have organized their entire day around one animal that has never once acknowledged their existence. They are not his friends, and they are not his enemies. They are downstream of him. Downstream is not a relationship, it is a direction. He walks north at 6:30 with bees still in his coat and honey dried on his chin. The hawk drops off 100 yards later and goes to roost. The jackal follows him another quarter mile and then turns off toward the road. The honeyguide is already gone, and it will be in the acacia above his burrow before he wakes up. Nothing was shared here today. A hole was opened, and everything with the sense to be standing near it when it opened got fed. The animal that opened it did not choose the company and could not have refused it. That is not partnership. That is proximity, repeated for long enough that it looks like partnership. Give it another 10,000 years of the same afternoon, and somebody will call it a relationship. It will still just be 4 animals standing near the same hole. In 9 days, a leopard will kill the jackal about a mile from here. There is another jackal in this territory, and inside a week it will be walking the same arc, 30 feet out, waiting for the same badger to put something down for 2 seconds. None of them know each other. The arrangement does not care.